Hey, welcome back. So, I know this ain't my channel genre, but I'm going to do it because I just saw Masters of the Universe for the second time. I went by myself the Friday to see it because I wanted to experience the movie by myself. And I took my wife and daughter yesterday and we all saw it again. I wasn't necessarily screening it for them. It was more or less, I just wanted to enjoy the movie and the nostalgia from my childhood, for just to be able to have the chance to absorb it. And so Friday, after I got home, I started looking on YouTube and I was just curious of what some of the other TV reviewers were saying about the movie and how they felt about it. And a lot of the reviews that I was finding, and I know, like, if you do a Google search or YouTube search right now on Masters of the Universe movie reviews, you know, the algorithm's going to put, it's going to be in a different order today than what it probably would have been if you did the same search Friday, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to name a lot of these reviewers that I watched, but I really want to give my take and compare and contrast against what they're saying about it. There's some things I agree with, and then there's some things I don't agree with. Overall, just to tell you, I loved the movie. I love the movie. This movie is what I would say we expected to see out of the G.I. Joe adaptations, the X-Men adaptations, all of the 80s, 90s cartoons that have been transitioned into a live action movie. Like this is probably what we expected to see, right? I was so pleasantly surprised with how well they did the characters, the costumes, the character arcs, all of that stuff, how it all intertwined. The storyline, of course, whenever you take a cartoon and you bring it to live action, there's going to be some things that don't actually go with the canon of the cartoons, or maybe there's plot holes left out in the cartoons and they take the liberty to try to fill them in creatively. And that's okay. I have zero problem with that, right? But you have the 80s cartoon, the Filmation cartoon, the original He-Man and the Masters of the Universe that a lot of us grew up watching. This movie pulls a lot out of that. Now there's the newer He-Man and Masters of the Universe cartoons that have been trickled in through over the years, and there might have been some pieces pulled from there, but there's going to be some differences even between those cartoons. But if you grew up in the 80s watching He-Man in that, as this movie is the love letter to those fans, to that generation growing up. I guess some of the things, to say it bluntly, that I didn't like about that some of these reviewers were saying, let me rephrase that. What I didn't like about the premise of what some of these reviewers were saying about the movie, they came out and would say, I never watched He-Man growing up. Well, sorry, sir, ma'am, you have no right to give a review on this movie, because if you didn't watch the original 80s He-Man cartoon growing up, you can't review this movie as if you're an Oscar judge, Siskel and Ebert type person, right? To me, that's irrelevant, because you have no basis to base this movie on. Myself and everybody that grew up watching and fans of He-Man and played with the toys, we're the ones who have a right to comment on this movie. But this movie was everything that I would ever want from, like I said, from a cartoon coming into live action. Was it perfect? No. But in this day and age, with everything going on in the world, this movie succeeded into just engulfing you for a good 2 hour, a little over 2 hour runtime, so you don't think about the outside world, right? It's a great escape into this world and an escape from reality, and to get to bring that inner child back out that's been dormant in a lot of us for so many years because of responsibilities and bills and life, right? So it was such a breath of fresh air to go into a movie and feel the kid, feel like a kid again. And I felt that so much. Like, there's not been a lot of movies that I've seen that has brought that feeling in me. And so I had to go back and see it again. And I'm not that kind of person that goes to the theater 2 or 3 times to see a movie over and over. So it has to do something to me and make me feel a certain way to want to go back and see it over and over again. And there's only been a handful of movies and throughout my whole life that have done that for me. Like Star Wars, just those nice adventure, escape from reality type movies. Um, yeah, and so this movie does that. Now, where I will side with what some of the reviewers are saying is some of the jokes, um, they go right up to the line, right? I don't, almost cross a line. And some reviewers say there's too many jokes. I'm not necessarily gonna rag on the amount per se, because if you know the cartoon, then you know it was campy, it was fun, it was a little silly, and especially even in the battle scenes, Um, so the campiness was not an issue. I appreciated it, that it didn't take itself too seriously. But some of the innuendo jokes kind of cross the line, because as a studio, I don't claim to be an expert of the film industry. I don't even know a novice amount about the film industry. But I know Mattel is a toy line, and they had their company logo right at the beginning of the movie. So I was questioning why some of these jokes at that level were even being allowed, because my generation who grew up with the original He-Man, we're old enough to kind of like, okay, I get the joke, like, haha. But our children now, like, we have children now. And if Mattel is trying to reach this next generation of children and create a new generation of He-Man fans, then some of these jokes were kind of like, why did they let that one go? So it was kind of hard. My daughter is 6, so a lot of those jokes went over her head anyway. But I know people have kids of different ages. We all have kids that are different ages, and it's like, well, what if that line or that joke is what they picked up or resonated with them, and they're coming out of the theater going, hey, what does this mean? I thought that was a little bit like, okay, we didn't need that. So I do agree with a couple of the reviewers on that. But overall, like, to the production team, the director, the all the actors, actresses in this movie that really embraced the source material, and I thought they all done an excellent job with these characters to bring them from cartoon to real life. I really do. Some reviewers were complaining about the runtime. I would have took 10 more hours of that. Like, if they could have drugged the story, and like, I was so entertained by the whole movie. Like, I could have sat there for 10 more hours. And that's the thing, is like, I want you to know, if you're on the fence about going to see Masters of the Universe and you're like, is it gonna suck? Is it great? If you're a fan of the 80s cartoon, go see this movie. Go see it. It's everything that the late 80s Dolph Lundgren Masters of the Universe should have been. And I'm not knocking them actors or whatever. They did the best with what they had and the budget that they had and everything that was going on behind the scenes with that movie. We got the best product that we probably could have gotten for the time, but this is what we wanted then, if that makes sense. Um, what else? This movie, if this movie was a sundae or a dessert, it would be a good banana split minus the cherry. Minus the cherry. And the only reason I say that the little cherry was missing, what was missing in this whole movie was because they gave so much detail to all the characters, the music, the score, the music in this movie was great. The one thing that could have been in there, matter of fact, trade some of the innuendo jokes, or take out the innuendo jokes, but they should have added in the full He-Man Battle Cat transformation at the end when he walked away, and they should have done the whole holding off the sword, full thing, him holding the sword and then pointing over at Cringer, and Cringer turns into Battle Cat. That should have been there. Outside of that not being there, this movie was great. This movie was great. This, of course, and I'll put it in the description that this is a kind of a spoiler review, because it's kind of hard to talk about the movie without talking about specific things that happen in the movie. Like I said, I don't have any issue with a little bit of creative liberties bringing it from the cartoon to the screen. The backstory, like there in some of the, I think it's He-Man Revelation series, Skeletor was King Randor's brother in that, and him receiving the Havoc staff from Hordak is what melts his face. That's really not in the original 80s cartoon. And so in the movie, like, Skeletor's just he's just a evil guy, right? There's no kind of family relation or lineage or anything like that. It's just he's Skeletor, and there's Randor. The characters are who they are. Except for Teela is the daughter of the sorceress, but she's in the movie she's the not biological, but the adopted daughter of Man-at-Arms. Some lore she's the biological daughter. Some lore she's the adopted daughter. It doesn't matter really. I mean, there's so many different backstories to kind of pull and tweak from. So none of that. The way they told the story in the movie flowed. But yeah, that's my review. If you're on the fence, I would say go see it, give it a chance. The end credit scenes were pleasant surprise as well. There's some people that might say that He-Man is Masters of the Universe is a woke movie. Well, it's not. The Masters of the Universe lore, they had feminine power back in the 80s before this whole woke culture became a thing. So there was a more modern play on that with Adam having the he, him pronouns on his desk. And that's just a knock to modern culture. I mean, that's no big deal. There's no offense there. It's just, it's not, to me, it's not a woke movie. He-Man as a series for kids back in the 80s, they had Teela. You still had Teela. You had She-Ra. You had all these female characters to appeal to little girls at the time, to try to and get them in there. I mean, what better way to have a brother and sister be able to sit down and watch the same cartoon back then? Because you gotta think, back in the 80s, man, some people just had one TV in the whole house. So it was better to have a family be able to sit down and watch something, or at least multiple siblings be able to get interested in one show. So, yeah, the woke claims, I would say, are false. Yeah, there's just so much in this movie that was just a pleasant surprise to me, and I'd see it 3 or 4 times. As a matter of fact, I even told my wife, I said, when this movie comes out on Blu-ray or DVD or whatever, I'm getting a copy. And I don't feel that way about a lot of movies. So anyway, I just wanted to make this so that you had a clear and concise, to help you if you're kind of on the fence about going to see this movie. Definitely go see it. Also, I will say, I know not everybody in the world grew up watching this. Before you go see this movie, you do yourself a favor. If you never grew up with the He-Man Masters of the Universe series, I highly recommend go on Tubi. Is a free app, and the series is on Tubi, the old classic He-Man. Pull it up and watch 2 or 3 episodes. The original He-Man series, it wasn't like a chronological storyline like what they try to do with miniseries nowadays. It was just each episode was its own little battle or its own little scenario. So you can pick 2 or 3 at random and watch them to get a good idea of what to expect going into this movie, or at least get a baseline. I would recommend that. But for those that like never watched He-Man yet, you're giving your go watch the cartoon, then go see the movie, and then you'll have your opinion. God bless. See you on the next one.